Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for the second day of preseason testing. This day session was cut an hour short due to a track-related issue. We'll get into that shortly, but I'm still here for the recap. So, let's get into it. At the top of the timesheets is Ferrari. Charles Leclerc doing a 1 minute 31.7 on the C3 tyre. He clocked in a total of 36 laps for the session. Track-related issues struck again for Ferrari. The team suffered some deja vu after a piece of drain came loose under Charles Leclerc's car, but aside from yet another incident outside the Scuderia's control, they spent the entire day at the top of the timesheets. From P2 yesterday to P1 today, the Tifosi will be happy to see their car so far up the grid. It's looking like Ferrari might be the ones in prime position to challenge the radical Red Bull. In second, we had McLaren and Oscar Piastri with a 1 minute 32.3 on the C3 tyre, doing 35 laps. High up in the timesheets again from McLaren, Oscar Piastri spent the majority of the session high up in the order. However, the Papaya team didn't quite show their hands, with Piastri bailing on multiple personal best laps to return to the pits. Finishing the session in P2 is yet another sign that the McLaren team will be competitive this year. Overall, a smooth session for the Papaya team. In third, surprisingly, the Williams and Logan Sargent with a 1 minute 32.5 on the C4 tyre, doing 30 laps. Sargent spent the first half of the session in the top 3, the car looking a noticeably lot less understeery through corner entry, so much so that you could see him over-rotating into the corners, preempting understeer that didn't actually eventuate. Some good progress from Williams overnight, some teething issues sorted out for the vastly different concept they're running this year. The timesheets are a little bit flattering, especially considering that Logan was the only driver to set his lap on the C4 tyre, a step softer than the rest, but nevertheless they'll be happy with that session. We have Sergio Perez, who posted a 1 minute 32.8 on the C3 tyre and a total of 20 laps in the session. Sergio Perez suffered a brake issue early on in the session, with the smell of burning brakes filling the pit lane. His brakes apparently caught fire momentarily. Sergio Perez would certainly want to start the year on fire, but maybe not like this. The session didn't improve much through the first 2 hours for Sergio, running last of the field and having some moments of significant oversteer. However, he made his way up the timesheets, but lagged significantly behind on lap count, only 20 laps. Perez and Red Bull would have been wanting more from this debut. Following Sergio Perez, we have Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso, who posted a 1 minute 33.0 on the C3 tyre, a total of 31 laps during the session. Alonso put yet another long shift in through the day session, another smooth and solid session for him and the team. Race runs yet to come for them in the night session. It'll be interesting to see where their pace stacks up. Mike Crack, the team principal, stated that their performance correlates to their simulations pretty strongly. It's looking promising for the British Racing Green outfit. Following Fernando Alonso is the second oldest driver on the grid. It's Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes. He posted a 1 minute 33.2 on the C3 tyre and racked up a total of 39 laps. The wait is over for Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes. Today brought about his first testing session in the final Mercedes of his career. Lewis looked comfortable in the brand new Mercedes, although in classic Mercedes fashion, the times aren't translating to the stopwatch. It's unclear to know what program they're running, and I wouldn't panic just yet because testing times aren't very reliable in terms of a gauge on where teams are, but the car looks better balanced than the previous 2 challenges. Him and George Russell both enjoying the new car. Following the 7-time world champion, we have Steak, Sauber, whatever you want to call them. Guan Yu Zhou posted a 1 minute 33.7 on the C3 tyre and 38 laps, a respectable total from him. The Stake F1 team looked comfortable again today. Zhou showed some promising pace and was up in P4 for a significant amount of time on the earlier runs. It's another smooth day for the rebranded Sauber outfit, the car looking relatively stable in terms of rear grip especially, another one in the books for the neon green team. From one of the brightest liveries on the track to the darkest, it's Alpine. Pierre Gasly posting a 1 minute 33.8 again on the C3 tyre and a total of 33 laps. Pierre Gasly was wrestling the Alpine around the track today, with high fuel runs on the hard tyre looking like a struggle for the French manufacturer. With Ocon going exploring in the gravel yesterday, it looks like Alpine have some work to do to get their car in the right balance window. Jack Doohan, the team's reserve driver, spoke about a high correlation between the simulator and on-track performance, which is promising, so if Alpine can iron out their issues, we might see a more stable package from them on the 3rd day of testing. Filling the second last position in testing was Haas and Nico Hülkenberg with a 1 minute 37.5 again on the C3 tyre and a total of 31 laps. Another day towards the back, Nico Hülkenberg had a quiet day in the test, nothing too eventful for him, as Haas continued to stack up an impressive total of laps. Haas will need all the data that they can get if they end up where they predict they will come in the Grand Prix, the back of the grid. Rounding out the testing times, we have RB, and Yuki Tsunoda, with a 1 minute 38 flat on the C3 tyre, posting the highest total of the session with 40 laps. A solid day once again. Peter Bayer, the team's CEO, described it as so far so good. The car again looked easily managed, however, a lack of laps for Yuki early on meant he'd started to fall behind in terms of his runtime. With every second of testing going a long way in terms of both team and driver performance and analysis, both Yuki and the team worked extra hard in the remainder of the session and passed the rest of the drivers, Yuki being the only driver with a lap count in the 40s. Another strong session for the team, although slowest on the stopwatch, they'll still be happy with their data collection. Yuki and Ricciardo both saying that they see potential in the new car. Now, onto some general observations of the second day session of testing. The cars looked like they were struggling for grip. The cars struggled in the third sector, with softer compounds making an appearance today. Cars on push laps seemed to be overheating their tyres through the first two sectors and seeing all the pace fall off in the final sector. It was a windy day in Bahrain. Stronger winds gave the drivers some troubles, as we saw some offs and cars running wide on corner exits. The wind will die down tomorrow as the teams gear up for some qualifying simulations. There was a lot of talk about wind fluctuation during the long runs. We won't see that for tomorrow. It was a smooth day for most of the teams without many dramas. A lot of teams able to reliably put in lap after lap in a very methodical performance. It seems the stagnation in the regulations has resulted in a more polished and professional looking Formula 1 grid. No spins and no yellow flags. Carlos Sainz would no doubt have dubbed the day as a smooth operation. Now my final observation was the track limits, or should I say the limit of the track. I can't say things were as smooth for the Bahrain circuit as it was for the teams and drivers, as it was pushed beyond its limits by the ground effect cars. A piece of what was reportedly drainage cover was ripped loose by Leclerc's Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton proceeded to drive directly over this loosened piece of cover, and it eventually led to a red flag and then the termination of the session for track repairs. There is, however, an extra hour of testing in the night session for the teams to make up for the lost time. Well, that's all we have for the day session of day 2 in Formula 1 testing for 2024. Let me know if you saw anything interesting. What do you think stands out? Where do you think the teams are going to end up? Do you think Ferrari are going to challenge Red Bull? I don't know. They'll be happy to have topped a time session. We'll see Verstappen back in the car tomorrow, and I think he'll be back up the top again. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys for day 3.
Sometimes you just got to lick the stamp and send it.